Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a predicted paper that I've made for IGCSE Edexcel Maths A for the October-November 2025 paper. This is a compilation of the topics that I think will come in this exam. This is based on the trend of the topics starting from 2018 onwards. Now, there is no guarantee that the exact same questions will come, but based on the trend that I've noticed, I feel like these are topics that have a greater chance of coming in the test. So let's start with this, go through these questions in detail, and hopefully by the end of this predicted paper, you will have better understanding of these topics. And I would strongly recommend that you check out the playlist above. This is a topic-wise playlist, and in this playlist, I've discussed all of the topics that are a part of the IGCSE Edexcel Maths A syllabus. So in case you feel like you need to practice more for a topic, you can just go to that topic video in the playlist and then see the questions, because all of the questions are past paper questions. So it will help you in developing better understanding. So let's start with these questions and see what can come in the test. So it says that show that 5 whole number 1 over 3 minus 2 whole number 6 over 7 equals to 2 whole number 10 over 21. So mixed numbers are something that always comes. So like you can get multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, anything. So you need to know about how to solve mixed numbers. And the best part about these questions is that they give you the answer in the questions. So you can easily see whether you're doing the question correct or wrong. So first you convert the mixed number into an improper fraction. So you times the denominator by the whole number, add the result to the numerator. So that's going to be 5 times 3, 15 plus 1, 16. So 16 over 3 minus, then we do 2 times 7, 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. So 20 over 7. Now, when we have fractions with unlike denominators being added or subtracted, we need to make the denominators equal. So to make the denominators equal, we will multiply the first fraction by 7 and the second fraction by 3. This way, both the fractions will have a denominator of 21. So let's do 7 times 16 first. That's 112 over 21. And this is going to be 60 over 21. Now we can write it as a single fraction. So that's going to be 112 minus 60. And that gives 52 over 21. This is our fraction in improper fraction form. Right now, this fraction is an improper fraction form. We need it in mixed numbers. So we divide 52 by 21. 21 times 2 is 42. Subtract the 2, that's going to be 10. So 2 whole number 10 over 21 as given in the question. So this is your answer. Then we have percentages. So percentages is something that also always comes. They never skip out on this. So the basic type of question you can get for percentages is that they can say in a sale, normal price is reduced by 28%. The sale price of a watch is 198 euros. We need to work out the normal price. So since we have the sale price and they want us to work out the normal price, 198 basically represents 72% of the normal price. So normal price is X over here. The reason why I wrote 72% of X is because we're reducing the normal price by 28%. So if we're taking away 28% of the normal price, that leaves us with 72% of the normal price. And that 72% is 198. So 198 times 100 divided by 72 equals X, which is going to give us 275 euros. So that is your normal price. Then probability. Probability also always comes, like they never skip out on this. So it says here's a biased four-sided spinner. The table gives the probabilities that when the spinner is spun once, it will land on 1 or it will land on 3. So we have the probability of 1, which is 0.26, and the probability of 3, which is 0.18. The probability that the spinner will land on 2 is equal to the probability that the spinner will land on 4. So that means if this is X, this is also X. Rubina is going to spin the spinner a number of times. Ravina works out that an estimate for the number of times the spinner will land on 3 is 45. We need to work out an estimate for the number of times the spinner will land on 4. So if the spinner is going to land on 3 45 times, we need to find out how many times the spinner is going to be spun in general. So 45 equals to 0.18 times the total times the spinner is spun. So you must have noticed in past paper questions that normally they ask you to find the number of times, a thing is appearing, like, how many times the number of 3 is going to come, 1 or 2 or so on. In this case, they give you that value, but they want you to find out how many times the spinner is being spun in general. So in that type of questions, we used to multiply the total number of times with the probability. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide the number of times 3 is coming by its probability. So that is going to give us 250. 2 times. So total times the spinner is being spun, that is 250 times. Now we have to work on estimate for the number of times the spinner will land on 4. So for that, we need to find the probability of 4 first. So another thing you need to know is that when you have a table like this, and some of the probabilities are missing in that table, to find those missing probabilities, you add up all of the probabilities in the table and put it equal to 1. So 1 equals to 0.26 plus x plus 0.18 plus x. The reason why we're adding them up and putting it equal to 1 is because the probability of the spinner existing with these 4 numbers is 1 whole. So out of that 1 whole, a part is 0.26, which is the probability of 1. Then 2 and 4 have the same probability. And then 3 has a probability of 0.18. So since all of them are part of 1, so all of them added up would also equal to 1. So first we had 0.26 and 0.18. That is 0.44. And then we add the x, which is 2x. So 1 minus 0.44 divided by 2 gives us the value of x, which is 0.28. So for the number of times we'll get 4 when we spin this spinner, that's going to be 0.28 times 250, and that equals 70. So 70 times the spinner is going to land on 4. Then we have solving linear and quadratic equations. This is also a very common topic that occurs every single time in the exam. So we have x minus 4 equals to 3 plus 2x over 6. In these type of questions, your first step is to always cross multiply and get rid of the fraction. So we cross multiply it 6 times x minus 4 equals to 3 plus 2x. Expand the bracket. 6x minus 24 equals to 3 plus 2x. Then we collect the like terms on each side. So 6x minus 2x on the left-hand side and 3 plus 24 on the right-hand side. Always remember, when you're moving a term from one side to the other side, we change its sign. So like, for example, 2x was being added on the right-hand side. When you took it on the left-hand side, now it's subtracting. So it does the opposite thing. So you have to keep in mind that when you're moving a term from one side to the other side, it's going to perform the opposite thing on the other side. So that's 4x equals to 27. Then x is going to be 27 divided by 4. You can leave it as an improper fraction, you can convert it into a mixed number or a decimal. Either way, it's correct. Then we have factorization of a quadratic equation along with solving it. So factorization, you can either use the quadratic formula, splitting the middle term, whichever way it's easy for you to solve. So we take the coefficient of y square, which is 1, times it by the constant, which is 30. So 1 times 30 is 30. We need to find other factors of 30 now. So those are 5 and 6, 15 and 2 and 1 and 30. These are the factors of 30. Once we have listed down the factors of 30, we're going to pick that pair of factors which when added or subtracted give us the middle term, which is 11. So we know 5 plus 6 is 11. So y squared minus 6y minus 5y plus 30. The difference between the initial equation and this one is that we have split the 11y into 6y and 5y. Everything else is as it is. So now you're going to factor by grouping by splitting the equation into two groups. So in the first group, we have y common. So y minus 6 comes in the bracket. And the second group, we have negative 5 common. So y minus 6 comes in the bracket. Now between y and negative 5, we have y minus 6 common. So y minus 5 comes in the other bracket. So this is your fully factorized answer for the quadratic equation. Now then they're saying hence solve y squared minus 11y plus 30 equals to 0. When it says hence, that means you're using your answer from the previous part. The answer from the previous part is y minus 6 times y minus 5. And now if we compare this equation with this one, the only difference is that this is equal to 0. So first it was an expression, now it's an equation. So we just put the brackets equal to 0 because the brackets are the same as the equation, but just in factorized form. Now we split the brackets and put both the brackets equal to 0 separately. That leaves y equals to 6 as one value and y equals to 5 as the other value. So that is your final answer for this. Then we have indices and expanding brackets. Once again, a common topic that is always going to appear in your test. So for indices, you need to know your basic rules. You need to know the rule when we have similar bases being multiplied, we add the powers. When similar bases are being divided, we subtract the powers. When there's a power inside the bracket and outside the bracket, we multiply the powers and the power gets distributed on the coefficient as well. So you need to know about all of these rules. If you're someone who struggles with remembering the indices rules, you can check out the link above. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I've made separate videos for each topic. So any topic you struggle with, just go to that topic video in this playlist that I mentioned earlier and just practice those questions for better understanding. So 3 to the power of 1 over 2 times 3 to the power of 2 over 5. Like I said, when similar bases are being multiplied, we add the powers. So we add 1 over 2 and 2 over 5. That's going to be 5 plus 4 over 10. So that's 3 to the power of 9 over 10 equals to 3 to the power of m. Whenever we have similar bases on both sides of the equal to sign existing alone, we can put the powers equal to each other. So 9 over 10 equals to m. That is your value. Then 5 to the power of negative 10 is divided by 5 to the power of negative 4, which equals to 5 to the power of n. Work out the value of n. So when similar bases are being divided, we subtract the powers. So 5 to the power of negative 10 minus negative 4 equals to 5 to the power of n. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. So n equals to negative 6. That is your answer. Then expand and simplify. 3x times 2x minus 5 whole square. Show clear algebraic working. So this one is like kind of similar to expanding a triple bracket, but the only difference is that instead of writing a third bracket, they wrote 3x. So If you get a triple bracket question, you just expand the first two brackets first and then multiply that result with the third bracket. In this case, we'll first rewrite 2x minus 5 whole square as 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5. So expand those brackets. That's going to be 4x squared because 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Then 2x times 5 is negative 10x. Then negative 5 times 2x, negative 10x. And 5 times 5 is 25. Collect the like terms. 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. Multiply 3x with the terms inside the bracket. 12x cubed minus 60x squared. And then it's going to be plus 75x. This is your fully expanded and simplified answer. Then standard form. So we have to write this number in standard form. So right now this is an ordinary number form. So to convert it in standard form, what we're going to do is we're going to first remember that every whole number has a decimal at its end. Whether it's written or not, the decimal exists. So the decimal is over here. So we're going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places to the left side. So that's going to be 2.84 times 10 to the power of 9. That is your answer in standard form. Then they're asking us to write the answer as an ordinary number. So they gave us a standard form. We have to write it as an ordinary number. So since the power is negative, so we move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left-hand side. So that's 0.00025. That is your answer as an ordinary number. So you need to know about your basic conversion from standard to ordinary and vice versa. Then it says that a equals to 6 times 10 to the power of 40. We have to work out the value of a to the power of 3, giving your answer in standard form. So a cubed would be 6 times 10 to the power of 40 being cubed, basically. So that's 6 to the power of 3 times 10 to the power of 40 times 3. 6 to the power of 3 is 216, and that's going to be 10 to the power of 120. Emphasis on standard form. So until this step, you'll get 1 or 2 marks, but you won't get 3 marks. 3 full marks will be given to you if you have converted in standard form. So that's going to be 2.16 times 10 to the power of 122. Same concept, every whole number has a decimal at its end. So when you move the decimal 2 places, you add 2 to the power as well. And also you need to know that in standard form, the decimal comes after the first non-zero digit. So the first non-zero digit is 2. That's why it's 2.16 and not 21.6 or 0.216. So you need to know these rules in order for you to get the full marks. Otherwise, you won't get full. Like, you just end up losing very easy marks. Then graphing inequalities. So the shaded region in the diagram is bounded by 3 lines and the equation of one of the lines is given. We have to write down the 3 inequalities that define the shaded region. So for this, they can either give you something like this, or they can give you the equations of the inequalities and ask you to sketch them and then identify the shaded region. So it can be both ways. So you need to know how to sketch the equation of a line, and then you need to know how to identify based on the given inequalities what the shaded region is. So this is like a backward situation of that. So firstly, this vertical line over here, this is x equals to -1. Then for this diagonal line, this is y equals to x, because for each x value, y value is exactly the same. So that's y equals to x. Now for the inequalities, look at the shaded region. So for the line x plus 2y equals to 8, the shaded region is underneath the line. Since it's underneath the line, that means the values of the equation are decreasing. So x plus 2y is less than equal to 8. The reason why I have attached the equal to sign with the less than is because it's a solid straight line. In solid lines, it's either less than equal to or greater than equal to, depending on what the shading is. If it was a dotted line, then it would be just less than. So you need to be aware of this basic distinction. So x plus 2y is less than equal to 8 for this. And then for x equals to -1, we're looking at the region where the values of x are increasing, which means x is greater than equal to -1. Then for y equals to x, we're looking at the values above the line, where the values of y are increasing. So y is also greater than equal to x. These are your three inequalities based on the given graph. Then we have compound measures. So for this, you can get density, you can get pressure, you can get average speed, anything out of these three. But remember that these questions are very easy. They're not the complicated ones. So it's going to be a very scoring one. All you need to do is you need to remember the formula. And in this case, they even gave the formula. And just read the question carefully so that you don't make any silly mistakes. So the diagram shows a solid cube. The cube is placed on a table so that the whole of one face of the cube is in contact with the table. The cube exerts a force of 56 newtons on the table. The pressure on the table due to the cube is 0.14 newtons per centimeter square. Pressure equals to force over area. We have to work out the volume of the cube. So area of the base is going to be W times W, which is W square. We know the pressure, we know the force. So first, let's use the pressure and force to figure out the value of W. And then using the value of W, we'll find the volume. So that's going to be 0.14 equals to 56 divided by W square. W square is 56 divided by 0.14. That equals 400. So W is going to be root of 400, which is 20 centimeters. So your volume is going to be W times W times W. So that's 20 times 20 times 20. That's going to be 8,000 centimeter cube. That is the volume of this cube. Then cumulative frequency, I've noticed over the years, cumulative frequency is always appearing. So there's a very high chance we'll get cumulative frequency this time as well. The table shows information about the number of minutes each of 120 buses was late last Monday. Complete the cumulative frequency table. So we need to figure out the cumulative frequency from the given frequency. So cumulative itself means that you're, adding things up. So the first frequency will always be the same, which is 10. But for the next one, we add 10 and 16. So that's 26. Then we add 26 to 44. So 26 plus 44. That's going to be 70. Then 70 plus 29. That's 99. Then 99 plus 15, which is going to be 114. And then lastly, 114 plus 6, that's 120. In order to make sure that your answer is correct, you need to check if the last value for the cumulative frequency is the same as the frequency value given in the question. So since it matches with this, that means the cumulative frequency values are correct. If it didn't match, that means you made a mistake somewhere, so you need to just recheck your values. So now we're supposed to plot these points on this graph and make a cumulative frequency curve. So for the x value, we'll use these, the maximum values of the intervals. So let's plot these now. 10, 10, so that's going to be over here. Then 20, 26, that's going to be 22, 24, 26 over here. Then 30 and 70, that's going to be here. 40 and 99 is here. And then 50 and 114 is going to be here. And 60 and 120. So now we connect these. Using a curved line. And that is your cumulative frequency graph. Use your graph to find an estimate for the interquartile range. So for the interquartile range, we need the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So for the upper quartile, we find 3/4 of 120, which is 90. And for the lower quartile, we find 1/4 of 120, which is 30. So we draw a line from 30 towards the graph. That's giving us 22. Then we draw a line from 90 that's giving us 36. So for the interquartile range, I'm going to subtract 36 and 22, which is going to be 14. So this is your interquartile range. Then use your graph to find an estimate for the number of buses that were more than 48 minutes late last Monday. So more than 48 minutes late, we draw a line from 48 towards the graph. That's coming at 110. So our focus is on this region because they're talking about the people who are more than 48 minutes late. That's going to be 120 minus 110, which is going to be 10. So 10 people were more than 48 minutes late. That is your answer. Then solving algebraic fractions. For this, same thing. When you're adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, the first step is to make the denominators equal. So for that, we're going to pick the lowest common multiple, which is 12 for 3 and 4. So that means we times the first fraction by 4 and the second fraction by 3. So that's 4 times 4x minus 2 over 12 minus 3 times 5 minus 3x over 12 equals to 6. Expand the bracket, 16x minus 8 minus 15 plus 9x, and write it as a single fraction with the denominator of 12. Combine the like term, 16x plus 9x is 25x, minus 8 minus 15 is going to be negative 23. You can cross multiply, so that's 6 times 12. So 25x equals to 72 plus 23. which is 95. X is going to be 95 divided by 20, which gives us a value of 3.8. So X is 3.8. Then again, you can get a different question for indices. Like this is like slightly more complicated, but not like the most complicated one. This is like the medium level. So given that 3 to the power of x divided by 9 to the power of 3x equals to 81, find the value of x. So in these type of questions, you need to make the base same for you to solve them. So we know 3 is a prime factor. So we can convert 9 into a base of 3 and 81 into a base of 3 as well. How? 9 is 3 square, 81 is 9 square, 9 square is 3 square. So square of 3 square is 3 to the power of 4. So now both of them are in the base of 3. So rewrite this as 3 to the power of x divided by 3 square whole power 3x equals to 3 to the power of 4. Whenever there's a power inside the bracket and outside the bracket, we multiply them. So that's going to be 3 to the power of 6x. Similar bases are being divided, we subtract the powers. So x minus 6x. So that's 3 to the power of negative 5x equals to 3 to the power of 4. Similar bases existing alone on each side, so we put the powers equal to each other, and x is negative 4 over 5. That is your answer. So remember, in such type of questions, you need to convert all of them in the same base. And yes, it will always be possible to convert them. They will never give you a number that cannot be. So you need to see what is the prime factor base. Prime factor base is 3 because 9 and 81 are not prime factors. So it's easier to convert 9 and 81 into a base of 3. 9 is 3 squared, 81 is 3 to the power 4. Replace them with that and then use the rules of indices to further solve this. Then recurring decimals, that is something that's always going to come. And this is literally a 3-step question. Very easy to solve. So use algebra to show that 0.681 recurring equals to 15 over 22. So the numbers on which you see the dots, those are the numbers that are going to be recurring. So that means it's going to be a pattern of 8181. 0.6, 81, 81, 81, and so on. 6 is not repeated, 8 and 1 are repeated. So your first step is going to be to assume that x equals to 0.681 recurring. That is your first step. Then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply x with 10. 10x would be 6.81 recurring. And after that, I'm going to multiply it by 1000. So 1000x would be 681.81 recurring. Now the reason why I'm multiplying x with 10 and 1000 is because I want to create them into a form that when I subtract the two, the numbers after the decimal are eliminated. And when they're eliminated, we'll be left with whole numbers. So it would be easier for us to convert it into a fraction. So if you notice, over here, the numbers after decimal are 818181. And same goes over here. They're the same. So when I subtract 6.81 recurring from 681.81 recurring, there will be no decimal. It will be a whole number. And on the right-hand side, I will subtract 1000x and 10x. So it's basically going to be like this. So that's going to give us 990x over here. And this one is going to be 681 minus 6, which is 675. So everything after decimal is gone. So x equals to 675 divided by 990. Now we're going to simplify this. Both of them are going to come in the 5 times table. So 675 divided by 5 is 135. And 990 divided by 5 is 198. Both of them come in the 3 times table. So 135 divided by 3 is 45. And 198 divided by 3 is 66. 45 and 66 also come with 3 times table. That's going to be 15 out of 22. So that's exactly the same as the fraction given in the question. So that's your answer. This is similar to the mixed number question that we did previously. They give you the answer in the question. So that's the best thing. Like you can easily manipulate your way around the question to get that answer. They're easy 2 marks that you can get. So if you remember the steps, this is a very easy question. Changing the subject, this one is always going to come. So I took the most difficult one, even though they don't give very difficult questions for this, but this was the one where we have a fraction and a square root. So we have y equals to root of x plus 1 over x minus 4. So first step is to get rid of the root. So to get rid of the root, I'm going to square both sides. So when I square both sides, the root gets cancelled out and y is y squared. So now it's going to be x plus 1 over x minus 4. How is the root getting cancelled out? The root represents a power of 1 over 2. And as you know, when there's a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, we multiply them. So 1 over 2 times 2 is 1. So x plus 1 over x minus 4 is what we're left with. Now you're going to cross multiply to get rid of the fraction. Expand the bracket. X y square minus 4y square equals to x plus y. The question says make x the subject. So whatever variable you're trying to make the subject, and if that variable exists more than once, what you need to do is you need to collect the terms with that variable on one side and take everything else on the other side, which means I'm going to write xy square minus x over here and 1 plus 4y squared over here. So this way, all of the terms with x are on one side, everything else is on the other side. Now we'll take that common. X bracket y square minus 1 equals to 1 plus 4y square. Isolate x and divide 1 plus 4y square by y square minus 1. As you can see, x is the subject. There is no other x on the other side. There's just one x, which is exactly opposite of what the initial equation was. In the initial equation, you had an x in the numerator and denominator. But since we collected the terms with x on one side and took it common, now that's not happening anymore. It's just one x. So this is how you solve questions about changing the subject when it's a fraction and the variable that they're asking you to make the subject is existing both in the numerator and denominator. Then we have interquartile range. So here are the test marks of 15 students. We have to find the interquartile range of these marks. So first you need to check whether the data set is in ascending order or not. As you can see, it is. Now for the interquartile range, we need to identify what is the median. So we have 15 marks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is your median value because before 19 we have 7 numbers and after 19 we have 7 numbers. For the interquartile range, we know we need the lower quartile and upper quartile. So lower quartile is the middle of the median and the first number. So that's going to be 15. And upper quartile is going to be 25. So what we will do is we'll do 25 minus 15 and that gives us 10. That is your answer. Then we have parallel and perpendicular lines. It says write down an equation of a line that is parallel to the line with equation y equals to 7 minus 4x. So this equation is given in your slope-intercept form. Just because negative 4x is written after 7, that doesn't mean that 7 is your slope. The coefficient of x will always be your slope because it's y equals to mx plus c. Doesn't matter if the constant is written first, it will always be the coefficient of x. So slope over here is -4. So in parallel lines, both the lines have the same gradient. That is the condition for them. M1 will always equal to M2. So any line with the gradient of -4 is parallel to this line. So we can just say y equals to -4x plus 3. That works. What you need to do is you need to make sure that the gradient is the same. Y-intercept can be anything. So it can be any line as long as m is -4. Then the line passes through points with coordinates -3, 1, and 2, -2. Find an equation of the line that is perpendicular to L and passes through the point with coordinates -6 and 4, giving your answer in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0, where a, b, and c are integers. In perpendicular lines now, this is line 1, this is line 2. Your gradient of line 1 times gradient of line 2 will always equal to -1. That is the condition for perpendicular lines. So we have the points through which line L passes. So let's find its gradient. Let's call that M1. So -2 minus 1 over 2 minus -3. That's -3 over 5. So if M1 is -3 over 5, we can easily find M2 using the condition for perpendicular lines. -3 over 5 times M2 equals to -1. M2 is going to be 5 over 3, because 5 times -1 is -5. -5 divided by -3 is +5 over 3. So we have the gradient of the other line that is perpendicular to L. Find an equation of the line that is perpendicular to L and passes through the point -6 and 4. So we have a point, we have a gradient. So y equals to mx plus c. Y is 4. M is 5 over 3. X is -6. Let's solve it to find the value of c. 4 equals to 5 times -2 plus c, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. 4 equals to -10 plus c, and 4 plus 10 is c, which is 14, which means y equals to 5 over 3x plus 14 is your slope-intercept form. However, they want ax plus by plus c. So you multiply the entire thing by 3. So 3y equals to 5x plus 42. And 3y minus 5x minus 42 equals to 0 is your final equation, based on the format mentioned in the question. If they wanted slope-intercept form, you would give this. But since they want the standard form, so you're going to give it like this. And circle theorems. So A, B, C, and D are points in a circle. TD is a tangent to the circle at D. AB equals to AD, which is shown. Angle ADT is 71. We have to work out the size of angle BCD, so this angle. So for this, you need to remember that inside a circle, if we have a triangle and all three vertices of that triangle are touching the circumference of the circle, we can use alternate segment theorem in that case. Based on alternate segment theorem, this angle is the same as this angle. So this is also 71. And since AB equals to AD, this angle is also going to be 71, because lengths are equal, so the angles are also going to be equal. So we can find angle A. So DAB is going to be 180 minus 71 minus 71, which is 38 degrees. So let me write the reasons as well for each step. So firstly, angle ABD equals to 71 degrees, because alternate segment theorem. Then DAB equals 38 because angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees and isosceles triangle. For the isosceles triangle, I can also say that ADB is 71 degrees because isosceles triangle. Yeah. Then for BCD, now if you notice, it's cyclic quadrilateral because all four vertices are touching the circumference of the circle. So that means opposite angles add up to 180. So BCD is going to be 180 minus 38, which is going to give us 142 degrees. And the reason for that is in a cyclic quadrilateral, opposite angles add up to 180 degrees. So for each step, I've given the answer. So you need to know about your circle theorems. You need to know that angles at the center are twice the angles at the circumference. Angles in the same segment are equal. Angles in a semicircle are 90. Then the cyclic quadrilateral one. All of these. The tangent and radius one, that the radius makes a 90-degree angle with the tangent. So you need to revise your circle theorems. And I didn't put the intersecting secant and chord theorem question in this predicted paper because it came in the June 2025 one. So I don't think it's going to come in this one. But if you're someone who struggles with solving it, just like give it a look because in case it does, like I don't want you to mess it up. So I have a video for that in my topic playlist as well. I'll attach the link for that. And do go through it just in case you struggle with that topic. Then histograms. There's a very high chance histograms are going to come because it came last time as well. And based on the pattern I've seen for paper ones, histograms do appear very commonly. The histogram shows information about the time some students took to complete a puzzle. Work out an estimate for the fraction of the students who took between 20 minutes and 60 minutes to complete the puzzle. So between 20 and 60 minutes. This is 20 and this is 60. So we need the frequency for all of these people. So they've given us the frequency density, which we can find out using the scale. And we know the class width, so finding the frequency and the fraction for that is not going to be that difficult. So frequency density over here is, this is 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1.5. This is 0.5, so 6, 7, 8. 0.8. This is 4. This is 2.5. And this one is, this is 4.5. So that's going to be 4.6. Yeah. So now let's find the frequency for each. Frequency density is frequency over class width. So frequency is going to be frequency density times the class width. So for the first interval, that's going to be 1.5 times 10. So that's 15. Then for the second interval, it's going to be from 10 to 25. So that's 15 times 0.8, which equals 12. Once again, this is 25. So the class interval is 15 for this. Then from 25 to 30, that's going to be 5. So 5 times 4, that's 20. Then for the other one, it's from 30 to 60. So that's 30 times 2.5, which is going to give us 75. And lastly, from 60 to 65, that is 4.6. So 5 times 4.6, that equals 23. So total frequency is going to be the sum of all of these. So 15 plus 12 plus 20 plus 75 plus 23. That gives us 145. And now for the people who are between 20 and 60 minutes. So for the interval from 10 to 25, the frequency is 12. So 12 people are present in this. We need to know how many are present in 5. So 12 divided by 15 and then times 5, that's 4. So 4 people are over here. So that's going to be 20 to 60 people. That's 4 plus, and then over here from 25 to 30, we have 20 people. And then from 30 to 60, we have 75 people. So that's going to add up to 99 people. So your fraction is going to be 99 out of 145. That is your answer. Then area and perimeter, here's an isosceles triangle ABC. D is the midpoint of AC and DB is 16 centimeters. Angle DAB is 65 degrees. We have to work out the perimeter of the triangle ABC. So I think in 2025, they gave us a trapezium question, so I don't want to use the same shape. I have a feeling they'll give a different shape because they have used, like in the past, I've noticed if they give trapezium, they give something else for the next one. So that's why I chose this triangle. So it's an isosceles triangle, and in that isosceles, we have a right angle triangle. So to work out the perimeter of the triangle beneath the lengths of the triangle, which we don't have. So using this right angle triangle and SOHCAHTOA, we can figure out the length of AD and AB. So SOHCAHTOA states that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is opposite over adjacent. So since this is our angle, 16 is our opposite, AD will be adjacent, and AB is our hypotenuse. So let's begin with finding the adjacent first. So since we are focusing on adjacent and opposite first, so we're going to use tan. Tan of 65 equals to 16 over AD. So AD is going to be 16 divided by tan of 65, which is going to give us 7.46 centimeters. Then to find the hypotenuse, we'll use sine. Sine of 65 equals to 16 over AB. So AB is 16 divided by sine of 65. So 16 divided by sine of 65. That gives us 17.65. So AD is half of AC, so AC is going to be twice of AD. 2 times 7.46. 2 times 7.46. That's 14.92 centimeters. So the perimeter is going to be 14.92 plus 17.65 plus 17.65. The reason why we're adding 17.65 twice is because AB and CB are the same. So that adds up to 50.22 centimeters. They want the answer correct to one decimal place, so that's going to be 50.2 centimeters. That is the perimeter of this triangle. Then the next question says A, B, and C are points on a circle with center O. Angle ABC is given as 75 degrees. The area of the shaded segment is 200 centimeters square. We have to calculate the radius of the circle, giving the answer correct to 3 significant figures. So for this, you need to remember that if we connect the points A, O, and C, we can clearly see that this is a part of circle theorems. Angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference, which means angle AOC is going to be 2 times 75, which gives us 150 degrees. So since we have the angle of this sector AOC and the triangle AOC, we can also see that AO and OC are equal because they're the radius. Which means using the shaded area, we can figure out what the radius is. Shaded area is going to be the difference of the area of the sector AOC and the triangle AOC. So 150 over 360 times pi r square minus 1 over 2 times r squared times sine of 150 equals to 200. We're subtracting the area of the triangle from the area of the sector to get the shaded part. As you can see, the only unknown variable over here is r, so you can easily solve this equation to find the value of the radius. So 150 pi divided by 360 is 1.308 r square minus, then we have sine 150 divided by 2, 0.25. So 0.25 r square equals to 200. So 1.308 minus 0.25, that's 1.058 r square. R square is going to be 200 divided by 1.058. So 200 divided by 1.058. That's 189.03. Square root both sides, and r equals to 13.7 centimeters. That is your radius of this circle. Then we have a question on surds. So the area of a rectangle is 18 centimeters square. The length of the rectangle is root 7 plus 1 centimeters. Without using a calculator and showing each stage of your working, find the width of the rectangle. So to find the width of the rectangle, this is our rectangle. If this is root 7 plus 1, we have to find this. And the area is 18. So 18 equals to W times root 7 plus 1. 18 divided by root 7 plus 1 equals to W. So we're going to rationalize the denominator to figure out what W is. So to rationalize the denominator, we're going to times and divide the fraction by the conjugate of the denominator, which is root 7 minus 1. Everything else will be the same as it is in the denominator. What changes is the sign in the middle. So if it's plus originally, you write minus. Then you multiply the numerator with the numerator and denominator with the denominator, which leaves us with this. Expand the bracket. So that's 18 root 7 minus 18. And for the denominator, you can either expand the brackets or just directly use difference of perfect squares, which is a square minus b square. And that equals to a minus b times a plus b. So over here, root 7 is our a and 1 is b. So it becomes root 7 squared minus 1 squared, which is going to give us 7 minus 1, and that's 6. 18 root 7 minus 18 over 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3, so 3 root 7 minus 3. Give your answer in the form of a root b plus c, where a, b, and c are integers. So your answer is 3 root 7 minus 3 centimeters. Then bounds. So you can easily get a question for upper bound and lower bound. In June 2025, they gave a rectangle with a shaded area and they wanted to find the upper bound and lower bound for that. So since they already gave a question for shapes and upper bound together, so I chose this one because I don't think they're going to give the exact same type of thing in October as well. So we're going to use this question, and this question you can learn division and subtraction for upper bounds and lower bounds, which is something that is most easily confused. So when you're trying to find the upper bound in subtraction, you do upper bound minus lower bound. If you're trying to find the lower bound in subtraction, it's lower bound minus upper bound. Similarly, for division, if you're trying to find the upper bound, then you divide upper bound by lower bound. And if you're trying to find the lower bound in division, it's lower bound divided by upper bound. If you're someone who still struggles with understanding bounds, you can check out the separate topic video. I'm attaching the link above. In this video, I've solved several different questions for upper bound and lower bound, and they're like different types of questions, not the same type of thing. So do check that out if you still struggle with this topic. So the equation we have is A equals to P minus Q over T. P is 8.4 correct to two significant figures. Q is 6.3 correct to two significant figures, and T is 0.27 correct to two significant figures. We have to work out the upper bound for the value of A. Sure, working clearly, giving the answer correct to one decimal place. Since it's upper bound, that means we need to find the upper bound of the numerator and lower bound of the denominator. And since the numerator is P minus Q, which means we need to find upper bound of P and lower bound of Q. So let's first start with find the upper bound and lower bound for each of these. So for P, we need to find the upper bound. So P is 8.4 correct to two significant figures. So when it's correct to like some significant figures, you need to see what is the second significant figure, because in this case, it's correct to two significant figures. Second significant figure is 4. Then you need to identify the place value of 4. Place value of 4 is 0.1. So whatever is the place value, you divide that by 2, and that gives you 0.05. So to find the upper bound of P, we do 8.4 plus 0.05, which is 8.45. If you have been taught a different method, use that. Whichever is like easy for you, just use that. Like it's not necessary that you have to use the same method I'm using, because everyone does upper bounds and lower bounds differently. So choose the one that makes it the most easy for you. Then we need to find the lower bound of Q. So for lower bound of Q, Q is 6.3 correct to two significant figures. Second significant figure is 3. Place value of 3 is 0.1 as well. So divide that by 2, and that gives us 0.05. So lower bound of Q is going to be 6.3 minus 0.05, which is 6.25. Now next we need to find the lower bound of T. So T is 0.27 correct to two significant figures. Second significant figure is 7. Place value of 7 is 0.01. So divide 0.01 by 2, and that is 0.005. So lower bound is going to be 0.27 minus 0.005. That is going to give us 0.265. So now upper bound of A is going to be 8.45 minus 6.25 divided by 0.265. That gives us 8.3 correct to one decimal place. So that is your answer. Then next is sets and Venn diagrams. So A, B, and C are three sets. Number of A intersection B intersection C is 5. Number of A intersection B intersection C complement is 2. Number of A intersection C is 5. Number of elements in A is 17. Number of elements in A union B union C complement is 3. Number of elements in A complement intersection B intersection C complement is 6. Number of elements in B intersection C is 7, and number of elements in C are 14. we have to complete the Venn diagram to show the number of elements in each region. So in June 2025, they gave a set notation question. It wasn't like a Venn diagram question like this. So just to be on the safe side, it's best to practice this in case they give this one. So we know that number of A intersection B intersection C, which is this region in the middle, which is common between all three sets, is 5. So 5 comes over here. Then A intersection C is given as 5. Let me just take this because we're done with this. A intersection C is 5. So if the intersection between both of them is 5, that means this is 0 because 5 is already a part of that intersection. So we're done with this. Then B intersection C is 7. So this is given as 7, which means this will be 2. So we're done with this. Now, A intersection B intersection C complement. So that means only this part above over here. So that's 2, because this includes the intersection between A and B, not C. Done with this. Then the elements in A are 17. So 2 and 5 already over here. So since 2 and 5 add up to 7, that means 10 comes over here. We're done with this. Then A union B union C complement 3, which means 3 are outside because it is the complement of all of their union. So that means everything that's outside the sets. Done with this. Then number of elements in C are 14. So 5 and 2 are over here. So 7 comes over here. So the number of A complement intersection B complement intersection C complement. So number of A complement intersection B intersection C complement equals to 6, which means we're talking about the elements that are just in B. So this part, which has nothing in common between A and C, so that's 6. So this is your complete Venn diagram. Then it says the diagram shows a triangular prism ABCDEF with the horizontal base ABEF. AC equals to BC equals to FD equals to ED equals to 12 centimeters. AB is 10 centimeters. B is 15 centimeters. We have to calculate the size of the angle between AD and the base ABF. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So in June 2025, they gave a cuboid for 3D trigonometry. So I thought like why not give it prism because it's very easy to solve a cuboid. So even if it comes again, you'll be able to solve that more easily. So it's best that we try a different shape. So these are all 12. AC, BC, FD, DE, they're all 12. AB is 10 and B is 15. We have to calculate the size of the angle between AD. Let's connect A and D and the base ABEF. So if I draw a right angle triangle, D point is right in the middle of F and E. So this is a straight vertical line which is perpendicular to the base. So we have basically this right angle triangle. This is A, this is D. I'm going to call this M. So first, I will draw another triangle, the triangle which is in the base. So that's A, that's going to be F, and that's going to be M. AF is 15. FM is going to be half of 10, which is 5. So let's first find AM. So using Pythagoras, we're going to find the length of AM. So AM squared equals to 15 squared plus 5 squared. That's going to be 250. So AM is going to be the root of 250, which equals 15.81 centimeters. Now that we have the length of AM, we need to figure out what DM is going to be because it's easy to find DM compared to AD. So for DM, Let's draw another right angle triangle. So this is D, this is M, and this is E. So we know EM is the same as FM, which is 5. And we know ED is 12, so we need to find DM. Again, we'll use Pythagoras because we don't have an angle, but we have two lengths. So you can easily find the third one. So now 12 squared equals to dm squared plus 5 squared. 12 squared minus 5 squared equals to dm squared. So that's going to be 144 minus 25, which gives us 119. So now we square root 119 to find the value of dm. So square root of 119 gives us 10.91 centimeters. So now if we go back to the first triangle that we drew, we have DM. So we have DM, which is 10.91. We have AM, which is 15.81. So we need to find the angle that the length AD makes with the base. So this is the angle. So we'll use tangent because we have the opposite, which is 10.91, and we have the adjacent, which is 15.81. So tan theta equals to 10.91 over 15.81. Tan inverse of 10.91 divided by 15.81, and that gives us 34.6 degrees correct to three significant figures. So that is your angle. Then mean, median, mode, and range. So this didn't come in the June 2025 paper, so it's best that you give this a look. It's not even that hard, so this isn't a topic you should be concerned about that much. So we have A, B, and 40 as four numbers. A is the least number and 40 is the greatest number. The range of the four numbers is 14. Median of the four numbers is 30. We have to work out the value of A and B. So for these type of questions, you need to know the difference between mean, median, mode, and range. Mean is your average. Mode is your number that occurs the most. Median is your middle value. And range is your difference of the maximum and minimum value. So they said that the range is 14. So 14 is 40 minus A. So that means A is going to be 40 minus 14, which is 26. Then median is 30. So the numbers are A, B, and 40. So median is your middle value of A and B. So A plus B over 2 equals to 30. Since we know what A is, so 26 plus B over 2 equals to 30. So that's going to be 26 plus B equals to 60. Cross multiply. B is 60 minus 26, which is going to be 34. So A is 26 and B is 34. That is your answer. Then transformation of graphs. So for transformation of graphs, I chose the trigonometric one because that is something that frequently comes. So there's no harm in going through this because this also brushes up your skills for the transformation of other graphs because the main concept is still the same for both of them. They might look different, but working out is the same. So it says a graph of y equals to a cos of x plus b for the angles from 0 to 360 is drawn on the grid. We have to find the value of a and the value of b. So for value of a and b, the function we're looking at is the cos function. So for these type of questions, you need to know what is like the basic function for a cos, like what's the basic shape. So a cos function for y equals to cos x looks like this, with the maximum value of 1, minimum value of -1. The minimum value is at 180, maximum value is at 0 and 360, and the x-intercepts are at 90 and 270 for 0 to 360. So if we compare this graph with the graph that's shown over here, we can see that the minimum value, which was supposed to be at 180, is now over here at 240, which means we have shifted the graph 60 degrees to the right-hand side. So when we shift a graph towards the right-hand side, that means we're subtracting that many units from the x value. So which means b is going to be -60. Then for the a value, that is your amplitude. So amplitude is your distance from the top of the curve. So amplitude is basically your distance from the, so amplitude is basically half of the distance between the maximum and the minimum value. So maximum value is at 2.5, minimum value is at -2.5. So 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5. So when you divide 5 by 2, that is also 2.5, which means A is 2.5. Why? Because initially your maximum value is 1. Now the maximum value is 2.5, which means y has been multiplied by a scale factor of 2.5. Hence, A is that scale factor of 2.5, and B is your horizontal translation, which is -60. So in the exam, if you get a similar question like this, like whether it's a sine function or cos function, steps are still the same. You need to identify how it has changed compared to the original function. So you will draw the original one on the side, compare what has changed, where is the maximum value now, where is the minimum value now, is there a horizontal translation, is there a vertical translation, are there any scale factors involved? So for that, you need to know your original shape. Then another curve C has equation y equals to f of x. The coordinates of the minimum point of C are 4, 5. Write down the coordinates of the minimum point of the curve with equation y equals to f of 2x. So again, transformation of curves. If something is being directly multiplied to x, that means you will divide the x coordinate by that value. So since we're talking about the transformation of 4, 5, you divide 4 by 2. That gives us 2. So x value becomes 2, y value remains as it is. The reason why the y value remains as it is because we're only changing x. 2 is being only multiplied to x, not with y. Hence, 4 becomes a 2 and y remains as it is. Then the next one is y equals to f of x minus 7. Now the graph is moving 7 units down. So if it's moving 7 units down, that means we will subtract 7 from 5. That gives us -2. So this time, x remains as it is, y changes to -2. So you need to know a transformation of graphs. If you don't know how something is changing based on what changes has been made in the equation, you won't be able to do it correctly. So for that, I would suggest looking at the transformation of graphs video. I'll attach the link above. There's a separate one for trigonometric graphs and separate one for the quadratic graphs or other graphs, like, the one like we just did. So check those out separately. And if you still have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll help you out. Then we have functions and completing square. So we have function f of x equals to 2 over 3x minus 5, where x does not equal to 5 over 3. So if I'm not wrong, in the June 2025 one, they gave a question where they asked you guys to state the value of x where the function is restricted, like the domain is restricted. So In this case, they already gave you the restriction that x does not equal to 5 over 3. So if they're asking you to find the restriction, what you will do is you will put your denominator equal to 0, and whatever value of x you get, that is the value at which the function does not exist. And the reason for that is that if you put 5 over 3 over here, it gives us 0 in the denominator. And anything divided by 0 is undefined, which means the function does not exist. Hence, to figure out the restriction of the domain, you will put the denominator equal to 0 when you have a rational function like this. So back to the question, we have to find f of 1 over 3. So you just replace x with 1 over 3 and solve your equation. So that's going to be 2 over 1 minus 5, 2 over negative 4, and that is negative 1 over 2. Simple as that. Then find the inverse of f of x. So put the function equal to y. So y equals to 2 over 3x minus 5, cross multiply, y times 3x minus 5 equals to 2. Expand the bracket, 3xy minus 5y equals to 2. Take 5y to the other side. The reason why we're taking 5y to the other side is because we're trying to make x the subject. So we have to take everything else on the other side. Next, we divide 2 plus 5y by 3y. And once we do that, we have x as the subject. So last step is to replace x with f inverse x and y with x. So this is your inverse of the given function. Then function g is such that g of x equals to 5x squared minus 20x plus 23. Express g of x in the form of a times x minus b whole square plus c. So basically they want us to convert the quadratic equation into completing square form. So for that, first step is to see whether the coefficient of x squared is 1 or greater or less than 1. Over here, the coefficient of x squared is 5, which is greater than 1. So if it's anything but 1, we have to take that number common from the entire equation. So 5 bracket x squared minus 4x plus 23 over 5. As you can see, we took 5 common from the entire equation. Now comes the completing square part. So there are several ways to convert an equation to completing square form, but I think the easiest one is that you use a formula where we divide the b value by 2. So the b value over here is 4 right now, once we've taken 5 common. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So once you do this, you will add or subtract this value to the equation. So x squared minus 4x plus 2 squared and then minus 2 squared. You will always add and subtract the value. You will not just add it. The reason why we're subtracting it as well is because 2 square, the plus 2 square is a new thing that we're introducing in the equation. So if we're adding something new that did not exist previously, you have to subtract it as well. And the reason why we're adding this is because this is a complete square, which is a minus b whole square, and that expands to a square minus 2ab plus b square. A square is x square, negative 2ab is negative 4x, and b square is 2 square now. The 23 over 5 was not our b square. We had to complete this square, and to complete this square, we need to find the value of b. So this is what we just did. So now we can rewrite that as x minus 2 square. This minus 4 comes outside this bracket along with the 23 over 5. Now we multiply the 5 with the bracket in these numbers. So we just write it with the bracket as it is. So we just write it with the bracket as it is because that's what the question is asking us to do. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 23 over 5 is 23. So 5 times x minus 2 whole square plus 3 is your equation in completing square form. If you're someone who wants to explore other methods to solve this, do check out the separate topic video for that in the playlist that I mentioned earlier. In that video, I have discussed different questions that come for completing square form. Also, I would like to mention that completing square form is used to find the inverse of a quadratic equation as well. So if they ask you to find the inverse of a quadratic equation, you need to convert the quadratic equation to completing square form to do that. So I'll even show you that for this. Like for example, if they were asking us to find G inverse X, let's say. So what you would do is you would use this to find the inverse. So that would be y equals to 5 times x minus 2 squared plus 3. Y minus 3 equals to 5 times x minus 2 squared divided by 5. Then you take the square root. So that's plus minus y minus 3 over 5 equals to x minus 2. And then plus minus root of y minus 3 over 5 plus 2 equals to x. So G inverse x would be plus minus root of y minus 3 over 5 plus 2. If they would give you restriction for the inverse, then you would only choose either the plus or the negative value, depending on what the restriction is. So remember, for completing square form, they can just directly ask you to convert a quadratic equation to completing square form, like they did over here. Or they can give you a question where they're asking you to find the inverse of a quadratic equation. And for that, you will need to convert into completing square form, then find its inverse and give the answer. So then we have another function question where we have f(x) equals to x over 4x minus 3 and g of x is x minus 5. So this is the exact same thing I was talking about. State which value of x must be excluded from any domain of the function f. So you would put your denominator equal to 0, and that gives you x equals to 3 or 4. So this is the value of x which will not be included in the domain. Then find f of gx. So they can always ask you to find the composite function. So f of gx means that we will substitute function g in function f. So wherever there's x in function f, you write x minus 5 in its place. So x minus 5 over 4 times x minus 5 minus 3. Simple as that. G of x becomes the domain of f of x. So everywhere where there is x in f of x, you will write the function g of x over there. So x minus 5 divided by 4x minus 20 minus 3, x minus 5 over 4x minus 23. Since we cannot further simplify, this is your composite function. Then differentiation. So for differentiation, there are like 3 different types of things you can get. Either they can directly give you an equation and they can ask you to find the dy by dx, and then they can ask you to find the stationary point or the turning point for that. For the stationary point, you always put the dy by dx equal to 0, find the value of x, and find the y value of that x value. You put it back into the original equation, and that would give you the complete coordinate. Next type of question you can get is like this. They can give you a shape, or like any scenario, like it is over here, that the radius of a right circular cylinder is x centimeters. The height of the cylinder is 800 over pi x minus x centimeters. The volume of the cylinder is v centimeter cube. Find the maximum value of v. So when it says maximum value of like anything, and it does not mention that, it's correct to something, or like, like it does in upper bounds and lower bounds, then it's not upper bound and lower bound. Then it means that you're using differentiation. So don't confuse differentiation with bounds, because for a bound question, they would tell you that, if these are the lengths of something, what they're correct to. Whereas in the differentiation question, they would never mention that. They would just directly ask you what is the maximum value of whatever is happening or the minimum value. So you need to know the difference between these things, because one can easily get confused that it says maximum. So it's probably asking me to find the upper bound or the lower bound. But that's not the case over here. Maximum value, if it's mentioned in a question and they haven't given us like what the measurements are correct to, is differentiation. So for the volume of the cylinder, the equation is pi r square h. R over here is x, so pi times x squared, and h is 800 over pi x minus x. So let's simplify this. We have pi x squared times 800 over pi x minus x. Expand the bracket. Pi x squared times 800 pi x is going to be 800x, because the pi's get cancelled out, and x squared divided by x is x. Then minus pi x cubed. This is our volume. To find the maximum value of the volume, we will differentiate this with respect to x. So dv over dx is going to be 800 minus 3 pi x squared. If you're someone who doesn't know how to differentiate, remember, like for example, if we have y equals to 3x cubed minus 4, that's our equation, let's say. dy by dx is going to be you bringing the power down and multiplying it with the coefficient and then subtracting 1 from the original power. Whereas for a constant, the derivative is always 0. If it has a variable, then it's not going to be 0, but if it's a constant, the derivative for that is always going to be 0. So that's going to be 9x squared. So just like this, x has a power of 1. I bring the power down. 800 times 1 is 800. Subtract 1 from the power. 1 minus 1 is 0. X to the power of 0 is 1, so that's why it's just 800. For pi x cubed, 3 comes down, becomes the coefficient. Subtract 1 from the power, so that's 2. So that's how you differentiate. Now for the maximum value of v, we need the maximum value of x. And for the maximum value of x, we put the dv by dx equal to 0, because maximum value is a stationary point. So 0 equals to 800 minus 3 pi x squared. 3 pi x squared equals to 800. X squared equals to 800 divided by 3 pi. So that's going to be 84.88. Now we square root that, and x is 9.21. So maximum value of v, we have the value of x, so we put it back into the volume equation. So volume is 800x minus pi x cubed. So at x equals to 9.21. So that's 800 times 9.21 minus pi times 9.21 cubed. That is going to give us 4,913.69. They want the answer correct to the nearest whole number, so that's going to be 4,914 centimeter cube. That is the maximum value of V. So that is your final answer. Then the next question you can get for differentiation is kinematics. So kinematics did not come in June 2025, so I have a feeling it might come for October, November. So a particle P is moving along a straight line that passes through the fixed point O. The displacement s meters of P from O at time t seconds is given by s equals to t cubed minus 6t squared plus 5t minus 4. Find the value of t for which the acceleration of P is 3 meters per second. So for this, you need to know that when you differentiate displacement, that gives you velocity. And when you differentiate velocity, that gives you acceleration. So since they want the time when the acceleration is 3 meters per second, we need to differentiate the displacement function to get velocity first. So ds by dt is going to be 3t squared minus 12t plus 5. Now we differentiate the velocity function to get acceleration. So we differentiate this, which is going to give us 6t minus 12. Now I have to find the value of t for which acceleration of p is 3. So 3 equals to 6t minus 12. 3 plus 12 equals to 6t. 15 equals to 6t. 15 divided by 6 equals to t, which is going to give us 2.5. So 2.5 seconds is the time at which the acceleration is 3 meters per second square. That is your answer. Then simultaneous equations. So this is going to be very simple. Then in paper 1, I have a feeling they won't give you the quadratic one this time because in June 2025, they give a quadratic one in paper 1. So they might give that in paper 2. So for this, there's a chance they might give you a linear one. But in case they give you a quadratic one, in quadratic, remember, you just use the substitution method to solve it. We don't use elimination method, just substitution. So over here, in a linear simultaneous equation set, you can use elimination or substitution, whichever is easy for you to solve. But in the case that we don't have the same coefficient for the variables, it's best to go with elimination. Because if you choose substitution in this case, it's going to give you fractions and then it's just going to be super complicated for no reason. So stick to the easier method. So first you need to decide which variable you want to eliminate. Do you want to get rid of x or y? If I choose x, I need to make sure that the coefficients of x are equal. Right now, x has a coefficient of 7 in the first equation and 3 in the second equation. So in order to make them equal, we times the first equation by 3 and second equation by 7. So that's going to be 21x minus 6y equals to 112. Remember, you're going to multiply 3 with all of the terms in the equation, not just 7x, all of them. So then we're going to multiply 7 with all the terms in the second equation. So that's going to be 21x plus 35y equals to negative 21. Now, if you notice, both the variables have the same coefficients. So it's going to be easier for us to eliminate it now. So for eliminating it, we know that x is positive in both the equations. So if we subtract the two equations, 21x minus 21x will 0. 21x minus 21x will be 0. So x is gone. So 21x minus 21x, then negative 6y minus 35y. And then on the other side, it's going to be 102 minus negative 21. So that's 0 minus 41y equals to 102 plus 21. That's going to be 123. So y equals to 123 divided by negative 41, which gives us negative 3. So y is negative 3. Then we can easily find x by substituting the y value in either of the equations. So if you pick the first one, which is 7x minus 2y equals to 34, 7x minus 2 times negative 3 equals to 34, 7x plus 6 equals to 34, 7x equals to 34 minus 6, which is going to be 28. X is 28 divided by 7, and that is 4. So when x is 4, y is negative 3. That is your answer. Then sequences. So in this one, it says the sum of the first 10 terms of an arithmetic series is 4 times the sum of the first 5 terms of the same series. The 8th term of the series is 45. We have to find the first term of the series. So let's write this down. Sum of the first 10 terms is 4 times the sum of the first 5 terms of the same series. The 8th term is given as 45. what is the first term of the series? So for this, let's create two equations. First, let's use the eighth term. So eighth term is a plus 8 minus 1 times d. We don't even know what the common difference is. So 45 equals to a plus 7d. This is our first equation. Now let's create an equation for the sum of the first 10 terms. So that's going to be 10 over 2 times 2a plus 10 minus 1 times d. So that's 5 times 2a plus 9d, which is 10a plus 45d. Now let's find some of the first 5 terms. So that's going to be 5 over 2 times 2a plus 5 minus 1 times d. So that's 2.5 times 2a plus 4d. 2.5 times 2 is 5a, and 2.5 times 4 is going to be 10d. So now we use the sum equation to create another one. So 10 plus 45d is 4 times 5a plus 10d. That's what the question says. So let's expand it. 10a plus 45d is 20a plus 40d. Bring them all on one side. So 10a minus 20a plus 45d minus 40d equals to 0. So that's going to be negative 10a plus 5d equals to 0. This is our second equation. So now we're going to solve this simultaneously with the eighth term equation, this one. So let's write them down separately over here. 45 equals to a plus 7d and negative 10a plus 5d equals to 0. If we make a the subject, a equals to 45 minus 7d. We substitute 3 in 2. So 0 equals to negative 10 times 45 minus 7d plus 5d. So 0 equals to negative 450 plus 70d plus 5d. 450 equals to 75d. Divide 450 by 75, and that equals 6. So if the common difference is 6, a is going to be 45 minus 7 times 6. 45 minus 42, and your first term is 3. That is your final answer. Then for similar shapes, this is like the basic one, which is like very scoring and has a very high chance of coming in paper 1. So it says ABC. So similar shapes is a question. So similar shapes is a topic that frequently appears based on like what I've noticed. And the basic one always appears in paper 1. So similar shapes is a topic that tends to come frequently. So based on my observation, similar shapes is a topic that tends to come in paper 1 frequently. So it says A, B, C, and D, E, F are similar triangles. Work out the length of DE. So you need to know that if two shapes are similar, similar sides are increasing or decreasing in size using a scale factor. So 16 is turning into 40, 12 is turning into DE, and AC is turning into DF. So to find the scale factor, what we do is we divide 40 by 16, which is going to give us 5 over 2. So if you want to figure out the length of DE, we will multiply AB with 5 over 2. That gives us DE. So that's going to be 12 times 5 over 2, and that is 30 centimeters. Then the area of the triangle DEF is 555 centimeters square. Find the area of the triangle DEF in meters square. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. 1 meter square is going to be 10,000 centimeters square because you multiply 100 with 100. So we're converting centimeter square into meter square. 1 centimeter square is going to be 1 over 10,000 meter square. So to convert 525 into meter square, we divide it by 10,000, and that's going to give us 0.0525 meter square. That is your answer. Another thing I would like to highlight over here is that in case they give you a question for similar shapes where they're talking about the area or the volume, you need to know that when it's about the area, your length 1 over length 2 whole square equals to area 1 over area 2. For area, you square your scale factor, or like the ratio of lengths, and put it equal to the corresponding areas. For volume, you cube the length. So L1 over L2 cube equals to V1 over V2. Whereas when it is like just normal lengths like we did for part A, that's L1 over L2 equals to H1 over H2. There's no squaring, there's no cubing, because we're just talking about the lengths. But when it's about the area, you square the ratio. When it's about the volume, you cube the ratio. Then vectors. So OMA, ONB, MPB, and NPA are straight lines. M is the midpoint of OA. ON is to NB is 1 is to 5. OM is given as A and ONB, and ON is B. We have to find in terms of A and B the vectors AN. We have to find in terms of A and B the vector AN. So to find vector AN is going to be AO plus ON. So since M is the midpoint of OA, OA is going to be 2 times A, so that's 2A, and ON is already given. So since we're using AO, we change the direction, so it becomes negative 2A. Whenever you change the direction, it changes sign. So negative 2A plus B. That is your vector AN. Then use a vector method to find the ratio of AP is to PN. So for AP is to PN, AP is this and PN. Okay. So if you notice, the question has also told us that ON is to NB is 1 is to 5. So let's first find, so let's use that information to further solve this. So if this is 1 is to 5, ON is B, that means NB is going to be 5B, which means OB is going to be B plus 5B, and that's 6B. So we have ON, we have NB, we have OB now. So if we have OB, we already have OA, we can find AB. AB is going to be AO plus OB. AO is negative 2A and OB is 6B. So AB is negative 2A plus 6B, and this is also A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two equations for AP, and then I'm going to use that to figure out the ratio. So we know that AP is OA. So you know AP is AO plus ON plus NP. That is one thing. Or AO plus OP. We don't have OP, we don't have PN. But what we can do is, if you notice, we can find BM and use that to figure out AP or OP. So let's first find BM. So BM is going to be BO plus OM. So BM is going to be BO plus OM. BO is going to be negative 6B and OM is going to be A. So negative 6B plus A. We don't have any ratio for BM, so we don't know like how PM is divided between PB on BM. But we know MP is going to be some scale factor of BM. So we can say that MP is K times MB. So that's going to be K times negative A plus 6B. Since I'm changing the direction of BM to MB, so it becomes negative A plus 6B. Similarly, we have AN and AP lies on AN. So AP is also going to be some scale factor, let's say X times AN. So that's going to be X times negative 2A plus B. This is AP. So we have an equation for MP and AP. Now we know that OM is A and we know that OA is 2A. So let's use that to create an equation for OP. We will use both MP and AP to create separate equations for OP, put them equal to each other, and then figure out what K and X are. So MP is MO plus OP. So OP is going to be MP minus MO. MP is K times negative A plus 6B and MO is negative A. So that's going to be A plus K times negative A plus 6B. That is your first equation for OP. Then we use AP to create another equation. AP is going to be AO plus OP. Now again, OP is going to be AP minus AO. So AP is given as X minus 2A plus B. And AO and since OA is 2A, AO is going to be negative 2A. So that's 2A plus X minus 2A plus B. So this is the second equation for, OP. So now we put both of them equal to each other. So A plus K times negative A plus 6B equals to 2A plus X times negative 2A plus B. We put the A components equal to each other and the B components equal to each other. So if we expand the bracket, that's A minus AK plus 6BK equals to 2A minus 2AX plus BX. So if I highlight this is going to be equal to this, and this is going to be equal to this. So 1 minus K equals to 2 minus 2X, which is 1 minus 2 equals to K minus 2X. Negative 1 equals to K minus 2X. And then over here, 6K equals to X. So if 6K equals to X, minus 1 equals to K minus 2 times 6K. Minus 1 equals to K minus 12k minus 1 equals to negative 11k. So 1 over 11 equals to k. So if k equals to 1 over 11, x equals to 6 over 11. So if we go back to our vectors, AP is x times negative 2a plus b. Let me just check again. Yeah. So we just replace x with the value. So we just replace x with its value, which is 6 out of 11. So if AP is 6 out of 11, then your PN is going to be 5 out of 11. And we can also confirm that by subtracting. So PN is going to be AN minus AP. So AN was negative 2A plus B, and AP is 6 over 11 times negative 2A plus B. So if you subtract the two, negative 22A plus 11B plus 12A minus 6B over 11, which is going to be negative 10A plus 5B. So we can clearly take 5 common over here. So that's going to be 5 over 11 and bracket negative 2A plus B. So we can clearly see that Pn is 5 over 11 of An, which means AP is to Pn is 6 is to 5. That is your ratio. So this is how you use the vector method. So this is how you use the vector method. You create two different equations for the same vector, put them equal to each other, find the value of the scale factors, and then find the given ratio, depending on what the question is asking you to do. Then the next question is about sine rule and cosine rule. So here's a quadrilateral PQRS. Angle SRQ is acute. We have to work out the size of angle SQR. So SRQ is acute. This one. We have to work out the size of angle SQR. This is the angle that we're trying to find. So if you look at the triangle PQS, we have two lengths and the angle between them. So we can use cosine rule to figure out the length of QS and then use that to figure out the angles. So QS squared equals to 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 8 times 12 times cos of 120. Remember, whenever we have two lengths and the angle between them, we will always use cosine rule to find the third length. So that's going to be 64 plus 144 minus. Now this is the part where most kids mess it up. You multiply 2 times 8 times 12 times cos 120 in one go. You do not break it down. Because if you break it down and do 2 times 8 times 12 and then subtract that from 144, that's going to give you the wrong answer. So you have to make sure that you multiply these together. So that's going to be negative 96. So then it's going to be 64 plus 144 plus 96, and that's 304. Now we square root both sides. So square root of 304, that's going to be 17.43. That is your QS. So let's write that over here. So now in the triangle QSR, we have an angle and we have its corresponding length. So we have one complete pair. If we have one complete pair of angle and length, that means we can use sine rule to figure out the angle for R, and then using that we can figure out the angle for Q. So 9 over sine of 27 equals to 17.43 over sine of angle R. So sine of R equals to 17.43 times sine of 27 divided by 9, and that is going to give us, so sine r equals to 0.87923. Then we take sine inverse of this, and that gives us 61.549. So now angle Q is going to be 180 minus 61.549 minus 27, which equals 91.4. They want the answer correct to one decimal place, so that's going to be 91.5 actually. That is your angle. Then in the next question, we have indices. So I added a harder questions for indices as well, just in case it comes. So it says simplify 30 times 25 to the power of 2x plus 7 divided by root of 180 times root of 5 to the power of 4x plus 9. You have to give your answer in the form of 5 to the power of w, where w is an expression in terms of x. Show each stage of your working clearly. So this might look weird, but like it's actually easy. It's just that there's a very high chance of making an error in this question. So what you're going to do is that we're going to convert everything in the base of 5 where possible. 30 is 6 times 5, so write it like that. And 25 is 5 square, so write it as 5 square whole power 2x plus 7 divided by 180. So let's find the square root of 180. 180 is 9 times 20. 20 is 9 times 4 times 5. So we know 9 and 4 are square numbers, so they come outside as 3 and 2, and we have root 5. So write this as 6 root 5, and this is going to be root 5 to the power of 4x plus 9. 6 divided by 6, so this goes away. This becomes 5 times 5 to the power of, when there's a power inside the bracket and outside the bracket, you multiply them. So 4x plus 14, and this is, when we have root 5, so let's write the root 5 like this, and then combine the powers. Similar bases are being multiplied, we add the powers, so 1 plus 4x plus 9. So that's 5 to the power of 1 plus 4x plus 14, because again, similar bases were being multiplied. So this gives us 4x plus 10 over here. And over here, that's going to be 5 to the power of 4x plus 14. So now if you notice, the root also represents a power of 1 over 2. So we can rewrite this as 5 and whole power 4x plus 10 over 2. Because it's 1 over 2, so it's 1 over 2 times 4x plus 10, which is 4x plus 10 divided by 2. So 4x plus 10 divided by 2 is 2x plus 5. Now similar bases are being divided, so we subtract the powers. 4x plus 14 minus 2x minus 5. That's going to be 5 to the power of 2x plus 9. So w equals to 2x plus 9. And with that, I'm done with the topics that I think would come in October, November 20. And with that, I'm done with all of the topics I think would come in November 2025. Once again, there's no guarantee that everything I've said would come. But like, I feel like this video is a good summary of the, but I feel like this video is a good summary for everything that has the potential to come. I would still recommend that you practice other topics as well, especially if you think some of the other topics that are not mentioned over here are your weaker areas. And for that, I've already told you, you have the playlist, which has all of the topic questions. If you have any questions or confusions by the end of this video, please leave a comment below and I'll help you out. And if you've understood everything, please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. And once you're done with paper 1, do share the topics in the comments below that came, so that it makes it easier for me to identify what topics can come in paper 2, so that you don't have to do everything 2 times. Obviously, there are common topics that come in paper 1 and paper 2, but then it makes easier to identify what are the harder questions that did come in paper 2, which didn't come in paper 1.